Coming up on AnimeCons TV, Gail and Elizabeth report from AnimeNEXT. Shiva and I visit PortConMaine again, and Doug and Patrick share tips to avoid con plague.
Gail and I just got back from AnimeNEXT 2012, and I hadn't been since 2008 when I'd been in its old location.
Last time I went was in 2009 when I went with Patrick.
And I remember from their report that they had a very positive experience, especially with it being at the new location, and I was really looking forward to going. It was okay.
It was, to be perfectly honest, a little bit disappointing. One thing that I remember Patrick and I really liked in 2010, was the last time we were there, was the attendees were largely a lot better behaved than a lot of the conventions we've been to recently. They were still better behaved than a lot of conventions we do attend further north, but they still were a little worse behaved than they were last time.
It didn't help that it was very overcrowded, which reminded me a lot when I went in 2008. It's definitely already outgrowing its facility, and one thing it relied on was having lines for indoor events that had to trickle outside.
Yes, they relied a lot on outdoor space, which is very worrisome. I really don't know what they would have done if it had rained, if it had downpoured and there wasn't any place for anyone to go, because there literally was not enough space inside for the attendees to congregate. And I really wonder what this convention is going to do, because from what I hear, there really isn't another space in the New Jersey area, and they really can't afford to move to a location in New York City. So I'm not really sure how they're going to tackle these problems.
Yeah, because going to New York would kind of lose its feel, because what I like about it is it's kind of a, even though it's a big con, it still has kind of a small con feel.
It really does.
There's free parking, there's lots of areas to hang out. It's it's in a hotel instead of in a gigantic convention center, which I actually really like about it. Well, mostly free parking, but that's definitely, I think if it were to move into a huge facility like that, it might actually lose some of
True. I almost wonder if they should employ something like tents, like what PortCon does. Not necessarily for their main events hall like PortCon does, but just put up tents outside, because there is a good amount of outdoor space and that could be a great way to keep people dry if it does rain.
They had your typical events. They had a cosplay chess, you know, basic boys versus girls thing on Sunday. The masquerade. Masquerade started good. I liked a lot of the skits. Some of them not as much as others, but I think it was a pretty solid show.
I was really impressed with the overall quality of the competitors in the masquerade and the hall contest.
To get from the convention center to the hotel, you have to walk this like covered walkway that is really meant for people to walk side by side, and you have people walking in groups, you have people stopping, people, you know, don't stop and talk to your friends.
Most of the time people were good, and on the narrow bridge where you really could only have one lane each way, people were good and they wouldn't stop, but it was very slow going and it was very congested.
For a con their size, they had a good amount of programming. They had like a second main events room, they had 3 video rooms, 6 panel rooms, 2 workshops. For a con of about 10,000 people, I think. That's a lot. That's like similar to Otakon for programming rooms. So that's a really cool thing. Nothing really jumped out at me to attend. A couple of panels here and there, but you know, that's more on me than the convention. But one problem I had with finding things to do was they had the program guide that had the panel descriptions and then a handout schedule that they gave you with when things are. The problem is when I'm looking in the program guide and I'm looking at the events and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. They don't have times because conventions a lot of times will leave that to the last minute. So I'll look in the program guide and then I can't find it on the schedule. And that might be because it was gone or I can't find it because there's a lot to look through. So I really liked it if they took the panel descriptions out of the program guide so that they could put a time and a date with each thing.
Another thing that I know some conventions do is they will print an addendum that will list the major changes to the schedule that have been made, and that would allow to say, sorry, this panel's been canceled, so, and by the way, this panel's actually going to be in, and then here's the description for it.
Yeah, I think that and the overcrowding, those are the 2 big issues for me, and hopefully they can magically build another building there or something. I don't know, because I did have a good time hanging out, and they're screwed if it rained.
I think this was a growing year for them in a lot of different ways, both physically, and I think they did get a lot more attendees than they've had in the past. And in that, I think they had a lot of growing pains this year where there were problems that they may not have dealt with in the past that they needed to learn how to deal with. And I'm optimistic. I really wish them luck in learning from what happened this year. Like Elizabeth said, it wasn't a bad con. It just, there were some aspects that were a little difficult to deal with and a little frustrating, but it was a lot of fun overall. Yeah, if you're in the area, I would definitely check it out. It's been around for a long time. I think a lot of the crowding was Saturday, actually. I think a lot of people went only Saturday. A lot of younger people only Saturday. I saw a lot of parents there, which was very cool. Yeah. Hey, parents. Yes. Take your kids to anime conventions. But yeah, hopefully we're actually looking forward to going next year, despite the issues that they had with the crowding and things like that. We hope that they can make what they have work for them in the future.
So Sketch and I just went to PortConMaine again this year, which we have gone to for the past several years. They had it in South Portland, Maine, and it was at the Doubletree Hotel, which they actually didn't change locations. The hotel just changed names.
That was Doubletree, and before it was the Wyndham, and then it was the Sheridan, and then it was something else, and then it was something else. But yeah. But
we're talking about the same place. But with the turnover, they did actually spruce the place up a little bit, so that was kind of nice. A few things were changed.
Warm cookies.
Yeah, they gave us warm cookies when we checked into the hotel. So if you want warm chocolate chip cookies, stay at the DoubleTree, because that made my day when I checked in. So now that it was the second year that they did the multi-genre theme, I noticed they had a lot more programming to kind of reflect that move. They had a Doctor Who costuming panel. A friend of the show, Brian Brushwood, came and did his Bizarre Magic show again, which was very popular.
Spikes.
And they did a few more panels, and also guest Charles Dunbar did this Final Fantasy panel, which I got to go to, which was very interesting. I mean, it's not too many times you go to a Final Fantasy panel and they talk about their favorite main character grabbing the princess's butt halfway through the game, and you know, it's...
Well, what's also interesting is that there's some things that not everyone would catch on to in that panel, such as like the crossovers actually in between the games that happened.
Yeah, and he had a lot of points that someone, as I've been a Final Fantasy fan for many years, I didn't know about, which I thought was very interesting. We also had our own Elizabeth did a panel about cosplaying as you get older, which was very interesting as well. So there's a lot of, I think, older attendees that actually go to PortCon, and they do cater to that a little bit, which is nice. For the masquerade, they actually moved where they had the stage in main events this year. Usually it's at kind of, they have a tent, and usually they have it kind of at the short end of the tent, and the audience is all filled in backwards. This year they moved it so it was at the wide part, and so it was much better seating for everyone, because everyone was, even the people who were furthest back were closer to the stage than before. It was a really good move.
Very radial, equidistant seating.
Yep, and so I judged the masquerade there. The only thing that was sad about it this year was that there was only about 5 skits.
Yeah, it makes it tough to judge presentation when everyone just walks up, twirls, and walks off.
Right.
Though a few of them did, you know, get into the persona of their costume and sell it, but... So
more people need to do skits at PortConMaine, but I think part of that is that they had a new event this year, which was the parade at the main mall across the street.
Which I happened to judge.
And I think that some of that conflicted with the judging for the masquerade, so a lot of people who participated in that event.
We did have a few people who won in the fashion show disappear, because they probably were jetting across from the mall back into the hotel to go for their masquerade judging. Yeah,
so I think maybe they need to schedule that a little bit more staggered so that they can have more people participate in both events who want to. So I think that cut down on some of the masquerade participation. But otherwise, it was a really good event. The other thing that was much improved since last year was the garage sale, which is a great event that is, as far as I know, unique to PortCon, where you can bring things that you would like to sell, like old anime figures, DVDs.
Very sticklers for bootlegs. Watch out for that.
They police the bootlegs really well, which is great. And what you do is you leave your stuff there, they sell it for you, and then they take a 15% cut, and you make some money at the end of the convention, which we both did. Last year they were a little bit unorganized, and they had, you know, it took a long time to check in your materials. This year they did it completely online. So before the convention, you could check in all the items you planned on selling, what you wanted the prices for. Before you even got the con, you would just drop it off. And instead of having this table with all these piles of stuff that people had to dig through this year, they had it all spread out. They had little areas for, you know, books, CDs, wigs,
and they also
costumes.
Built up, you know, shelving over everything too to fit all the stuff that comes in,
which is fantastic. And you know, I think they sold a lot. I don't know what the numbers were, but personally, I know I sold more stuff this year.
They were a lot happier at the end of the con when we were collecting our what didn't sell.
It streamlined the whole process, and so they did a fantastic job reworking that. So that's fantastic. The other thing was that it tends to rain a lot for the PortCon weekend, and this year it ended up being sunny and really hot.
Very hot.
Which was
inside a tent with no wind.
Right, and so I mean the hotel itself was fantastically air conditioned. It was very comfortable. It didn't feel crowded, but the tent itself, and I know they probably only have one opening maybe for crowd control or you know, security, but because of that, there was absolutely no ventilation in that thing. So I don't know if they need to wait till everyone's seated and maybe open up another panel or get some fans in there, but there needs to be some kind of cross ventilation going in there, because it was okay outside but stifling in there when we were doing some of the main events with a lot of people. So maybe that's something they can look at, but otherwise it was another fantastic year for them.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had fun.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Recently, we got asked for how to do a segment on how to avoid the infamous con plague.
Con plague?
No. You don't need to go to extremes to make sure you stay healthy at a con.
My mommy.
Take that off. But there are some good ways to just remind yourself, be healthy. First and foremost, follow the 5-2-1 rule, which is 5 hours of sleep, 2 good meals, and 1 shower every day during the convention. Your body needs rest and it needs fuel, and you need to keep yourself clean. It's general hygiene.
And that's 5 hours of sleep horizontal in a bed, not sitting in a video room.
Or at least some kind of mattress.
Yeah. And 2 good meals, it's not Pocky.
Yeah, Pocky is a snack, not a meal. And just kind of related to that, when we say a meal, make it somewhat nutritious. You know, go to a restaurant, have something that has vegetables and something that's going to sustain you. One trick I've found over the years that works really well, get a 6-pack of like V8. You can get little cans like this. This costs about $3. Have 1 can every morning just to make sure you get your daily requirement of vegetables. You get a 6-pack, you go to a con for 3 days, you can split it with a friend. Yeah. The next one.
Also, eat healthy before the con, so that you already have the healthy food in there, and that'll help sustain you too.
Remember that you're working hard during a con. It's not a typical day-to-day, so you will be burning more calories walking around and everything. One of the next key points is hydrate. Keep yourself very well hydrated. Drink lots of water. You can always just carry a little water bottle like this around. Many conventions actually now sell water bottles at their merchandise booth. And a lot of conventions also keep water stations in all the panel rooms, and sometimes they even have them in the dealer's room right in the middle of the floor, so if you're really thirsty, grab some. Especially in hot months in the summer, or if you're down south, or if you're wearing a hot costume, you're going to sweat more, so there's more water coming out, you're going to put more water in. Another trick too is in the winter months when the air is a lot drier, sometimes you can notice you'll wake up with a sore throat or something. So if you go to a lot of cons, something you might want to invest in is just something small like this, like a travel humidifier. This costs about $25. You can usually find it at a local pharmacy. And you just plug a little water bottle right in there and keep it running in your hotel room. And it's a great way to just keep your lungs moisturized and everything like that, and so you don't dry out. That's pretty cool. I didn't know about those. And finally, one of the other things is just, once again, general hygiene. Wash your hands, or just use like a little cheap bottle of hand sanitizer that you can keep in your backpack, because you'll be shaking hands, you're in a group with a lot more people. Yeah, you're touching doors every time you go in. You're touching chairs. Everything has thousands of people touching it. Don't touch anything. Yeah. Actually, one trick, I rarely get sick. One trick I do is I actually don't touch anything. If I open a door and it's a push door, I punch it. Bro fist it. Don't push it, because then it gets on your hands. Yeah. And finally, while these are great ways to make sure you avoid getting the con plague, first and foremost, if you do actually wind up sick at a convention, it's not fun. If there's something you really cannot miss, prioritize that. But the rest of the time, go rest, because ignoring the problem is just going to make it worse. Yeah, and if you're coughing, sneezing, cover your mouth. Even if you have one of those masks, it'll be like you're in Japan, where a lot of people wear that. Yeah, I mean, your friends will forgive you for missing out on some things because you were sick. They'd be much angrier with you if you got them sick as well. Yeah. So 5-2-1, nutrition, hydrate, wash your hands. Simple as that. And shower. Use soap. Shampoo your hair. Come on, people. Stop being dirty. Stop it.
Voicemails! Well, it's voicemail time.
Oh, this is Sarah from Connecticut, and all I want to say is...
How do I know? I don't know the words to this song, but it's so lovely. How will I ever survive? I don't, that's all I know, but she loves us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see you at AnimeCon.
We won't be there, but they'll see you. No, actually,
A representative will be there at ConnectiCon.
yeah, Patrick and Doug and Elizabeth, I think, will be at ConnectiCon.
I believe so. No, no Doug? Okay.
Oh, no, Doug, just Patrick and Elizabeth.
The producer is telling me right now that Doug will not be there.
Judging the Masquerade.
And apparently Patrick D will be judging the masquerade.
Watch out.
He gives silly awards.
All right, do we have another one?
Do we have another one? No, we don't. Okay, we only have that many. All right.
That's sad.
Well,
No
just-
movie phone guy?
That's weird. I hope he's all right.
I know. What if he's
Maybe
dead?
I don't.
Maybe we should
I don't
call
know.
him.
Should we call him? I think we should call him. Maybe next episode. Anyway, subscribe to us on iTunes. While you're there, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating because you love us so much.
We're on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, iTunes, YouTube, and Foursquare, and you can see links to all these at the bottom of our homepages at AnimeCons.com and FanCons.com.
This July, Doug and Elizabeth will be at Otakon, and Patrick will be a guest at Anime Iowa. So come say hello.
And if you're out at a convention this summer, call and leave us a voicemail at 762-ADEQUIT. That's 762-233-7828. We'd love to hear from more people.
Yeah, more people, not
Yeah,
no more movie, other people. Diversity, thank you.
Don't die on the battery.
Don't die!
I brought the
Don't die, camera!
I brought the crappiest battery. I did it backwards. I gotta do it again. Sorry. Because now I remember what to say. Alright, now I know what I'm doing. Alright.